Earlier this week, I came across a video on TikTok. A woman was holding a donut. She said, "Recent research reveals that a person can take 3 bites of any kind of food and will become fully and completely satisfied. So," she continued, "I'm going to have 3 bites to see if this is true." So she took 1 bite, dabbed at her mouth, took the 2nd bite, dabbed at her mouth. Then on the 3rd bite, she stuffed the entire remaining donut in her mouth and said, "Oh yes, this 3-bite method really works." Regarding this morning's message, I fear I may have bit off a little bit more than I can chew. Metaphorically speaking, the 3 bites for today's, hopefully, delight are these. I want to briefly explore in both science and religion. A, the role of belief. B, the role of imagination. And C, the powerful need for community. So the title is From Stonehenge to Sagan. So let's begin with Stonehenge. I'm not an expert, but what I have learned about the popular site located in England is that Stonehenge is just one of 13 areas in the UK where ancient stone circles exist. Stonehenge is unique because of the hinged boulders that make up the standing structures. Let's see, I think is the next one the one that shows how the stones, they're like Legos, like they fit. There it is. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Stonehenge, actually, the stones were cut out so they fit like this. In the 1700s, a scientist realized the stones had been placed in such a way to highlight the summer and the winter solstice. The stones were placed in such a way that it became a calendar of sort. In 1863, another scientist unearthed cremated human remains. Now this is interesting. So this was 1862, they unearthed it, but to date, the area appears to have 240 burials. Cremation wasn't supposed to have been a ritual in this time period. So it's an odd find. In 2021, an archaeologist found that the blue stones placed inside the circle of the standing stones, the stones that rise about 13 feet, came from Wales, more than at least 100 miles away. So the current thought is that 2 cultures merged at Stonehenge. One group was comprised of farmers, and the other group were hunter-gatherers or nomads, get this, who brought the stones with them. Remarkable, right? How on earth did they maneuver such heavy stones? Some theorize that massive-sized cattle, known as aurochs, might have been used to help. The beasts are extinct today, but they were present during that period. We know this because jawbones and horns have been located there. So the Salisbury site of Stonehenge evolved around 5,000 years ago and was considered to have been a colossal meeting place for a feast among people of differing cultures. It was also a construction site whereby more than one group of people worked together to dig a circular ditch with a mound around the site and then to raise the stones. It became a calendar and a cemetery. Science can tell us the how of such an endeavor, possibly, but much less about the why. Through a process of reason and deduction, we can only guess about the life and death of the people of the times who gathered there. Even today, Stonehenge is a meeting place that is sacred to many people, especially during the winter and the summer solstice. Stonehenge is a mirror, a place that reminds us of humanity's need for community and connection. So it was then as it is today. Because we know so little, It inspires the imagination, our sense of wonder and awe. It invites people to explore beliefs, either in the power of science, of nature, of humanity, and/or a belief in God or a supernatural element. Bruce Shaman, a member of All Souls Unitarian in New York, said, "I have been a student of philosophy and theology for 30 years. I am an atheist. In my book, An Atheist Defends Religion, Why Humanity is Better Off with Religion Than Without It," this was published in 2009, by the way, "I explore the idea that on the deepest level, modern science and religion are not contradictory. They arise from the same urge toward progress and transcendence and salvation found within the human spirit." So the science and religion relationship model that dominates the modern culture agenda is characterized by an irreconcilable conflict between extremists on both sides of the ideological spectrum: biblical literalists and creationists versus militant atheists and scientific materialists. He wrote, "In the science-religion conflict model, the only way there can be a resolution among extremists is in defeat of the other side. The tragedy is that a polarized, competitive view debases both science and religion. Ultimately, when devout believers deny the Big Bang and evolution, this is not religion, this is ignorance. And when militant atheists claim that natural empiricism invalidates spiritual beliefs, that is not science, that's arrogance." Shaman pointed out that the best of both science and religion is that they endeavor to advance the human enterprise, to alleviate suffering and the advancement of humankind, of love and compassion, I will add. In other words, they are partners helping us to pursue the best for humanity. And if one truly grasps Unitarian Universalism, one will value the contributions of both religion and science. Unitarian Universalists tend to incorporate using reason as a spiritual practice, rather than embracing thought patterns arising from the generations of stories told and retold, and then to look at them and say, this just does not make sense. For example, in the stories that pop up about how the large stones at Stonehenge were placed, one persists. It is proposed that Merlin, the great wizard, instructed a giant to place the large rocks into position. In the demon-haunted world, Science is a Candle in the Dark, Carl Sagan quoted James Oberg, and he said, this space engineer stated, "Keeping an open mind is a virtue, but not so open that your brains fall out." I am so grateful for our faith tradition that encourages the questions, that values the inquisitive mind, that is open to exploring and testing hypothesis, especially when it comes to exploring life's deeper meaning. Consider this: theology is the exploration of who we are, how we are to exist in the world, and includes an exploration of the mysteries of life. We are part of a group of people who encourage awe and wonder and questioning information that does not make sense. This is the stuff that binds us. By the way, the term religion comes from the Latin word religio, meaning to bind. Among some 14 definitions of the word religion is this one, quote, to read again, quote, to observe carefully. We are a people who pause to observe and to reconsider what we are told in order to determine fact from fiction. We need both science to inform our thoughts and religion to remember that we are connected to one another. We hold a space we create a space that is safe enough to encourage exploration and the questions. On the one hand, science can give us information that allows us to take care of our bodies, but science cannot assign meaning or purposes to our choices. For example, when someone says, "Tell me about yourself," you and I don't generally offer up our blood pressure numbers, such as 100/70, my body temperature is 98.6. In just a second, I can pull up my cholesterol numbers. We don't do that. No, normally we might comment that we are worried about something, or celebrating something, or feel good, or "I'm fine, thank you." Science can provide facts about the body, but it cannot describe what you are passionate about, what in your life you value the most, your views on destiny or an afterlife, the reason for your choices to love or not to love, and how you perceive the world. On the other hand, religion does not give us provable facts, but provides powerful stories with helpful teachings that offer ideas for how we wish to thrive in the world and how we choose to relate with others. There are no road maps for navigating life's experiences. Therefore, religion helps us to connect the wisdom of humans of the past through stories and science, and in doing so might help us to determine what is worthy of our time and effort today. When it comes to science and religion, Unitarian Universalists embrace an integrated model whereby we understand that religion and science are profound dimensions of our life. Here we have the late Carl Sagan. What a wonderful scientist and scholar he was. In that book, The Demon-Haunted World, he wrote of his lifelong love of the cosmos and pondered everything from the existence of aliens in this book to Darwin's oft-times perceived troubling theories. Sagan wrote, "Scientists may reject mystic revelations for which there is no evidence except somebody's say-so, but they hardly believe their knowledge to be complete." He mentioned that over time, science can disprove common assumptions. He said, once the earth was flat. This was a fact. And then we learned that it wasn't. There was a time when the earth was considered to be the center of the universe. And then science disproved the idea. Science allows new understanding to unfold, but can't be certain of all things. And there it is. There it was, Sagan's humility that made him so great. In the book, he often quoted Unitarian Charles Darwin, who warned of the idolatry of arrogance and the pitfalls of ignorance. Darwin said, "Ignorance is more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. It is those who know little and not those who know much who so positively assert that this or that problem will never be solved by science." This makes me think of the challenges associated with the rise of white Christian nationalism that purports to know so much, yet appears to be so off base on so many things, such as the teachings of the historic Jesus. In John Fusang's Separation of Church and Hate, A Sane Person's Guide to Taking Back the Bible from Fundamentalists, Fascists, and Flock-Fleecing Frauds, the opening lines, these are based on scholarship, by the way. Jesus was a peaceful, radically nonviolent revolutionary who wasn't American and never spoke English, who hung around lepers and hookers and crooks, never sought tax cuts for rich Nazarenes, was anti-wealthy and anti-death penalty, anti-public prayer too, by the way. That was in Matthew. Never asked lepers for a copay, never called poor people lazy, never even slightly anti-gay, never mentioned abortion, supported paying taxes, and was a long-haired, community organizing, authority questioning, anti-slut shaming, brown-skinned Palestinian, unarmed, homeless Jew. But only if you believe what's actually in the Bible. And then there's this line: I've come to view Jesus the way I've come to view Elvis. I love the guy, but some of the fan clubs terrify me. You and I are living in challenging times whereby strict white Christian nationalism is the fire-breathing dragon that threatens any understanding that is other than that of a people in power who have vested interest in discouraging skepticism and the adoption of science as a spiritual practice, our spiritual practice. Thank you, Carl Sagan, who wrote, "Both skepticism and wonder are skills that need honing and practice." Thank you for joining us this morning as we incorporate our faith of curiosity grounded in the results of science. May it continue to be so.